What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit POD your home for all things Detroit Lions related. That includes news, updates, analysis, and so much more. In today's podcast, we are going to be diving into our predictions and debating some of the tough decisions that the Lions have to make when it comes down to cutting down to the final 53-man roster. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. I'm your host, Miko. You can find me at Twitter at the Miko Scott. Once again, joined by my two great co-hosts here. First and foremost, we have your senior editor over at prideofdetroit.com, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD over on Twitter. Ryan, what's going on, my man?
Not a whole lot. My wife got her order right tonight, so I'm not, in the same hot water that you are.
Yeah, that's not a boat I like want anyone to ever have to be in. You're always like in the wrong. If the wife's order is wrong, it's because you forgot something or because you forgot to check something. So, but it kind of goes in tandem, Jeremy, with how the Lions played in their last preseason game. Wasn't a great preseason outing. Wasn't a great outing for me trying to pick up dinner tonight for the family. Jeremy Reisman joining us tonight at Detroit Online over there on Twitter. Jeremy, how was it being at Ford Field and kind of seeing the preseason kind of go out with a little bit of a whimper?
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. And, you try not to make too many bold swinging statements or take too much from a preseason game. But, on a night in which you're hoping the guys on the Lions roster bubble make an impression, make it easy on the Lions or make it hard because there's so many good performances, the Lions did the exact opposite. And now you're kind of left like, okay, who's actually earned spot 50, 51, 52, 53 on the roster? And I'll tell you, as someone trying to build up my own 53 right now, it's not easy. And unfortunately, it's not easy for the right regions. Does this mean like the Lions have terrible depth? I'm not willing to necessarily go that far, but it does make you wonder if maybe once we get to like the settled 53, if there aren't going to be a couple names on it that aren't even on the roster right now.
Yeah, I think that's something to really dive into tonight because, like you said, like this preseason performance compared to the other three, this one was a little more lopsided and this one didn't look as impressive, Ryan, when you were trying to like kind of key in on certain players that you thought would stand out. And so, today we're going to get into both the offensive and defensive guys that, like you said, either did or did not make an impression. So let's go ahead and kick things off on the offensive side, and we'll kind of just go position by position here, guys. But let's start with the quarterback position. Obviously, the Lions have their starter in Jared Goff. That's a no-brainer, obviously. But there has been a battle throughout training camp between Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen. But I think we can all agree that Kyle Allen definitely put a stamp on things tonight, if not more so. Hendon Hooker did nothing to really kind of help himself to really make a case for the QB2 job.
Yeah, this one, Jeremy, it wasn't a matter of who's going to win the QB2 job. It was whether or not the Lions could be enticed to keep a third quarterback. I thought. And where do you think things lie with the powers that be when it comes to putting together a 53-man roster? Is there room for a quarterback three?
Well, let me read what Dan Campbell said after the game, and you try to read between the lines here. When asked, talking about the pros and cons of keeping a third quarterback and evaluating Hendon Hooker, he said the following: "How much development do you believe there still is? Sometimes does a player need a change of scenery? What about our own depth in other areas? I mentioned this the other day relative to that. All right, maybe there is room to grow. Is that worth the depth we need at offensive line, defensive line, receiver, defensive back?"
Hendon Hooker, the waivers.
Yeah. I mean, if you bring up change of scenery in your answer, that's where his head is at right now.
If you start asking rhetorical questions like how much room is there for growth and development, and like is that something worth seeing through? I think, Kyle Allen played, was it 2 series?
Yeah.
5 for 5, perfect. A beautifully thrown ball to Isaac Tesla gets pulled out of the game because I'm assuming the Lions said, okay, we're good. Hendon Hooker, here's your audition to see if you can prove to us that there is something left. And
Jeremy,
Jeremy,
same.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And, I wanted Hendon to work out, and I think we all went into this training camp thinking it was his job to lose. Kyle Allen has not shown a lot as a backup quarterback, and I do think Kyle Allen deserves enough credit to actually winning the job. I mean, his passer rating over the last 3 preseason games has to be close to perfect. We can't overlook that, but Hendon just has not done anything to deserve a spot on the 53-man roster, and I think that should be a overwhelmingly consensus opinion at this point. And I think it's even gotten to a point where you're like, is he going to get claimed on waivers? Everyone can see this tape right now, right? Like, I know there's maybe one offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach out there that might think that the traits are there. I can change him, but they have to put you have to go on that team's 53-man roster. And then, so now it's almost like the question is, when he clears waivers, is there a place for him in Detroit still? If the head coach is talking change of scenery, I don't know.
Yeah, the practice squad isn't a change of scenery.
Right.
And that's kind of where like my head went after this game was like, does he even have a spot on the practice squad, or do they even prioritize, having him as another guy that they continue to develop on the practice squad? I think reading in between the lines, Jeremy, of that quote, it does sound like, hey, like if the Lions can't keep him, I don't think they're going to lose much sleep over that. I think that they'll just go ahead and they'll find another quarterback that they can stash on the practice squad and be content to just start over in that department.
It'll be a strange first early acknowledgement from Brad Holmes that he swung and missed on a day 2 pick, right? The only day 2 pick that's not here anymore is the Fatu Melifonwu, and he lasted at least his entire rookie contract. So, considering there's another 3rd round pick a year before Hendon that is also likely not going to make the roster, this is kind of I don't know. It's not a shift in Brad Holmes' reputation, I don't think, but it's just entering a new phase because this team is so good that sometimes your draft picks just aren't going to work out.
Is it from the same draft class? Talk about Broderick Martin?
You're right. It is from the same draft class. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, like that draft class started out really well at the top.
Right. Yeah.
You have 4 guys that are at the top of their position, and so you're not going to cry over the 2023 draft class. But, there's always, you can always wish for more, I suppose.
Yeah, you could always, I mean, again, no one wants to miss on, like you're saying, on those day 2 picks, but moving over to another position group where the Lions have had a lot of success in terms of bringing in talent, whether it be through the draft or free agency, the running back position is clearly set, I would say, Ryan, for the first 3 positions, right? When you're talking about, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Craig Reynolds, who we continued to see throughout the preseason, get a lot of run. Ryan, for me, I have a question. Like, I think we all love Sione Vaki, and I think it probably is a no-brainer that Vaki probably makes the roster. But I was very impressed with Sailors throughout the preseason. And I do wonder if he has at least made it a conversation amongst the coaching staff on what the Lions want to do in terms of possibly keeping an RB4, and if he's a better option for keeping as an RB4, seeing as Vaki wasn't really available this much this offseason.
Yeah, well, we know for sure who running back 3 is. It's Craig Reynolds, because he deserves, and he deserves something after everything he did for this team in the preseason. That right. Feels like a fair trade-off. So you have David Montgomery, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Craig Reynolds. I think Sione Vaki, I know we got some news, Jeremy, about, maybe less good news than we were hoping for. Just that he could be out for like a tick longer than maybe they had assumed he'd be out. But Sailor seems like a perfect guy to just stash on the practice squad. I think he seems like a perfect opportunity for a guy who, if this team does deal with injuries, that's a guy that they could call up, much in the same way, Jeremy, that they would treat Jamar Jefferson in years past.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, the sense I got from Dan is like maybe Sione Vaki misses a week or 2, but I think you can say like Jacob Taylor's probably going to make it to the practice squad, and so you elevate him for the first 2 weeks to play the special teams roles that Sione Vaki would have played, right? Like that's how it works out, and that's why Sione Vaki still has value, right? Like unfortunately we didn't get to see much of him. Did he play at all in a single preseason game? He didn't, right?
Yeah, he did.
He did play
in the last one, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, in the third one. But either way, like I don't know where he is in his development as a running back because we saw so little of it, but the one thing we do know is that they value him a ton on special teams, and they don't want to throw that away for a UFL guy who listen, he's playing well. Jacob Sailors, I like the guy. He's a good kid. And I think the Lions probably would like to see a little bit more of him, and that's why I do think he makes it through the practice squad. But to me, the RB situation is pretty straightforward. I think they keep four. Because it doesn't sound like Sione Vaki is going to miss a significant amount of time to warrant, a trip to the IR or anything like that.
Yeah. I think that's probably like when we talk about quarterback, we talk about running back. I think those two position groups are probably the most like set. Like it's so easy
Yeah.
to just kind of know who's going to make the roster in those situations. Things get very dicey at wide receiver. We talked about this last week in terms of like, do the Lions keep a wide receiver seven? Or if they don't decide to keep a wide receiver seven, like where do you stand if you're Dan and Brad Holmes between, Jackson Meeks and, Dominic Lovett, two guys that had, flashed at various points, Jackson Meeks probably more so. And then you get to a final preseason game and neither guy really does much of anything of significance. Jackson Meeks almost, saves a punt from, going into the end zone that turns into a touchback, Ryan. But outside of that, like, I'm going to be very curious come Tuesday or Monday night to see like how many wide receivers the Lions actually kept.
Yeah, there's a numbers game. I think this is where it becomes part of the numbers game and who's gonna make the roster, who might get, cut and then brought back in some roster shenanigans. I don't know, but this truly feels like the first position where you're like, well, you have Lovett and you have Meeks. And is it one of those two guys? I feel like I lean closer, Jeremy, to it's going to be one of those two guys. I don't think it would be both of them. I just have this feeling that it's going to be one of those two guys. And if I'm being honest, like I think it's Jackson Meeks. Like I don't want to be so like caught up in being a prisoner of the moment, say like, oh man, like didn't get on the stat sheet when it came to receiving. He also had to play with Hendon Hooker for most of the game. So um, that's where I'm kind of at. Like I think that Meeks was the more productive receiver, and when it comes to special teams, like there is a role maybe long term for Lovett as a returner, but he was drafted in the seventh round. Like I don't want to pretend like oh he's a seventh round pick, so he's automatically on the roster. I don't think that's the way that you should treat this.
Yeah, the Meek stuff, like internally, you don't want to put too much emphasis on just the preseason when there's a load of training camp tape.
Sure.
But at the same time, when you're playing these roster games and you're trying to get, because I think we can both agree that the Lions would love, including the practice squad, to have both of these players on the roster, right? Keep
Yeah.
six, keep seven, whatever it is. You're going to want the other guy to be on the practice squad if it's only six,
Mm-hmm.
and so the preseason tape is the only thing that the opponents see, right? So the fact that Jackson Meeks has 150 or whatever yards and 2 touchdowns, other teams can see that. They don't see what he's doing in practice. They don't see what Dominic Lovett is doing in practice.
It's a good point. Unless you're the Dolphins, and apparently the
Sure.
Dolphins need help everywhere. So
Right. And then you also think about like how many teams are looking for wide receivers right now? Does that
yeah.
impact
The,
your
the, the
decision?
Niners.
Yeah, like there's the Vikings, there are a lot of wide receiver needy teams. Now, if you're a wide receiver needy team, are you going for the small slot speedy type, or are you going for like the big bodied guy who's maybe got a little bit more athleticism to him? So all those things, in my opinion, that leans maybe you need to protect Jackson Meeks over Dominic Lovett, because I do think there are a lot of small speedy slot types out there.
yeah,
I think the thing with Dominic Lovett for me is, and I get what you're saying, Ryan, in terms of like he's a seventh round pick. Let's not try to like make it seem like you're potentially cutting a third or fourth rounder. But you did draft him, which meant that you at least like there are things that you liked about him enough to draft him versus a Jackson Meeks, right? Like these are both guys that you could have drafted. You drafted one over the other. I just wonder if there is a situation where they're like, hey, well, we drafted him with a long-term plan in mind. Now, does that plan possibly get thrown in the garbage because Jackson Meeks had such a great offseason? But I do think it's going to be interesting to see, like, do they roll the dice on which of these players they choose to roll the dice on and see which of them possibly makes it through waivers. Not to mention, we talked about this a little bit last week, but like being able to attend practice this week and seeing Tim Patrick work exclusively with the twos and threes really does have me wondering like, hey, he's not getting like any run with the ones, at least on that specific practice. Like, how secure is Tim Patrick's spot on this roster?
I think it's more secure than either Jackson Meeks or Dominic Lovett's. I think Tim Patrick is going to be a Detroit Lion on the 53-man roster for two reasons. One, veteran. They always tend to trust those guys. And two, if they need if they need offensive help, then you lean on Tim Patrick. You don't put Dominic Lovett in that situation. You don't put Jackson Meeks, I think, in that situation.
No, but I do think if you need that help, you could also just lean on Isaac Taslaw. I think if you also needed that help, you could also lean on Khalif Raymond. I don't like if we're talking about luxuries, I'm starting to wonder if having Tim Patrick would be a luxury, especially when we're seeing Isaac Taslaw ball the way he's balling. And seeing how Johnny Moe is using a Khalif Raymond
Mm,
with the ones more so than he's using like we all sit here and say like the Lions need this big body X and that's why Tim Patrick is still on the roster. But like I at least again, it's one practice, but like Jeremy, I didn't see a lot of that. Like it
Yeah.
seems like they're very content on just getting playmakers on the field, regardless of size and regardless of
mm.
position.
I do wonder how much the injury is still hampering Tim Patrick a little bit. And to be fair, like Tim Patrick was not good before the injury, right? Like he was struggling in camp before the injury. And I can see where you're coming from, Miko. To me, it's just you have good depth there. Why mess with it a little bit? Where it's just like, yeah, Taslaw might eat into Tim Patrick's stuff like right away. I mean, after this game, here's Dan Campbell on Isaac Taslaw. Quote, he could just continues to get better and better. Every time he makes a play, every time he does something, you gain the trust of everybody around you, the coaches, but also your teammates that are watching. And I need to get to the other part where he basically says, okay, he says, it's not easy to develop as a receiver in this league and be ready to go. And I think there's a place for him to help us early in this season. Like, Taslaw has done a very good job earning the Lions' trust in a matter of 5 to 6 weeks. And so I do think he might cut into Tim Patrick's playing time very quickly. But at the same time, I still like having Tim Patrick there. Like, even if he becomes a game day inactive, which it could very well happen because I don't think he's going to do much on special teams. I just like having, like, if he needs to be the Allen Robinson that is just like wide receiver 6 on the roster and is a game day inactive, that's okay with me. I know you're paying him maybe more than you'd like to out of an inactive, but I believe most, if not all, that money is guaranteed. So there's not much. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. So I just, I don't want anyone to get injured, but I like having the insurance there if you need it.
That's what I'm saying. Like in the case of an emergency, say Isaac Taslaw were to get hurt, do I feel comfortable throwing Jackson Meeks in there, or do I feel comfortable throwing Tim Patrick in there? That's where I'm at with it. Veteran guy in the locker room. I'm cool with it.
Nah, and that's fair. I mean, like I said, I do question how they are going to approach that room because again, you're talking about one guy that like I think in a similar situation as Hendon Hooker, we went into the season expecting like, oh, Tim Patrick easily wide receiver 3, and I'm getting to the end of training camp and I'm like, Tim Patrick wide receiver 5?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they got room for 6 of them. So
the interesting thing about the Taslaw stuff too is Dan was asked, like, he's not getting a lot of work with the ones. So are you willing to like trust him despite the fact that he isn't, when you get to team drills, running with the ones? And he said, well, he's getting one-on-ones with the number one DBs sometimes, and Goff is throwing to him during individuals. Like he is starting to get that trust and that work with the ones. Maybe not in full team drills, but Goff is throwing to him when they're doing individuals, and he is occasionally going up against the likes of DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold. So I don't think I've seen enough of that to fully trust Isaac Taslaw starter week 1, but it's clear they're getting closer and closer to that.
Yeah. I think switching gears, moving over to the tight end position, I think that's another group of guys where I think it's fairly set, right? Like tight ends 1 through 3, where you're looking at, Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra. I think, Zach Horton made things interesting at various points throughout this offseason, but I think like that's another guy that like if you can keep him on the practice squad, Jeremy, like you're probably happy if you're Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they took Zylstra out of this game pretty early. And I think that says all you really need to know about where they feel there. The only question there is like if because I'm stuck at like 51, 52 players, and I'm just like, where is this last player gonna come from? And I mean, maybe there's a slight chance that they really like Zach Horton as a fullback, and that's the role that they don't like with Brock Wright or Shane Zylstra. But that feels like a stretch, at least a little bit. I think it's within the realm of possibilities, but I think it's kind of unlikely. He's certainly not going to beat out Shane Zylstra. This would just be keeping a tight end 4, which, is not out of the question. It's not unprecedented, but I think the Lions could probably do better utilizing that roster spot somewhere else.
I do feel like Zylstra ended up winning this one in a couple of ways. One, he has more experience than Zach Horton, and Kenny Yeboah got hurt. I wonder how much different this position may look if Kenny Yeboah doesn't have that injury a couple weeks ago. So, but I think I agree, Miko. I think you have your tight end 1, 2, and 3 set, and Zach Horton seems like a guy who does enough of the dirty stuff and has some positional versatility to him that the Lions would like to keep him around on the practice squad if they can.
Yeah, I think once again, if we're talking about just having a guy that you could elevate, or even to your point, Jeremy, if you wanted to keep him possibly as a fullback, I guess there's also that option as well. I'd be curious to see if like Grant Stewart could play some fullback though. If you like really needed a dude, like I'd go ahead and roll 15 out there just for a play.
Absolutely could.
Grant
Absolutely.
Stewart at every position. Like, let's try Grant Stewart at quarterback. Let's try Grant Stewart at wide receiver
All
X.
22 Grant Stewart edition.
Getting a little ahead of ourselves because we're not quite ready to talk about the defense, but we do got to talk offensive line, and that's another one where, listen, the starting five is pretty much set. Obviously, there is some news about Graham Glasgow. Obviously, suffered a little bit of an injury on Thursday's practice, but Jeremy, it sounds like everything is not nothing serious, that he should be relatively fine within the next couple weeks or so.
Yeah. I asked Dan at the end of the game, and he said Graham, quote, should be good. So it seems like that is as dismissive of any sort of seriousness to that injury as possible. So it certainly sounds like he's going to be ready week 1.
So Ryan, with that said, like you therefore have your starting five with Taylor Decker at left tackle, more than likely Christian Mahogany at left guard, Graham Glasgow at center, Tate Ratledge at right guard, and obviously Penei Sewell at right tackle. At that point in time, it really comes down to those other players in terms of depth. I want to start kind of with the tackle position first. I think Dan Skipper is obviously your do-it-all tackle. He can play left, he can play the left side, he can play the right side. The question more so comes for me, Jeremy, in terms of what do the Lions choose to do with Giovanni Manu as well as Jamarco Jones? Do they decide to keep two tackles, or do they allow just themselves to go into the season with just the one and have Dan Skipper as that guy that can kind of bounce in between, both tackle spots?
Yeah, I think they're not ready to give up on Giovanni Manu, and I actually thought he played relatively well on Saturday, playing left tackle the entire game. I know Brad has had these comments multiple times this offseason talking about, hey, we're getting to a point where our roster is so good that we can't carry around some of these developmental guys. We can't do what we did in 2021, 2022, which is just fill this roster with guys that have potential, that have flashes that we hope we can fix by year 2, year 3, year 4. I still think Giovanni Manu survives this roster because he's shown enough of a jump from year 1 to year 2 that they're hoping maybe for a similar jump from year 2 to year 3 to the point where he is OT3 and maybe in the conversation of a future left tackle, although he still has a very long ways to go to get there. And because I'm looking at the roster myself, and some of it is due to some of the unfortunate injuries this team has suffered. Some of it is because I don't think a lot of guys have necessarily stepped up to a point where I think there's a better use of a roster spot than keeping the Giovanni Manu project on track.
That's fair. Ryan, what do you think? Because I think if you keep Manu and you keep Skipper, that's already 7 offensive linemen, right? And we're talking about potentially, I know, Jeremy, you floated this out in conversation before, possibly trying to keep 10. So that leaves you what, 1 for backup center and 2 guards.
Yeah, I think the more disappointing development, honestly, this preseason training camp has been it's been that Giovanni Manu hasn't like shown enough. Like he's shown some, right? And I don't even
Hmm.
think that can really be said too much for like Hendon Hooker, right? Like I guess I viewed Brad's comments in the scope of that, right? Like you have guys like Hendon Hooker, you have a guy like Giovanni Manu, and you just hope that you could justify it. I think that you can. I think that you can. I think that you can keep both Dan Skipper and you can keep Giovanni Manu, and then you can make the rest work along the interior. I think there's an opportunity to maybe get Tristan Colon back at some time. You
Hmm.
know, I saw that he was working with a trainer on the side a couple days ago at practice. I know Dan said that he'd be out for a little while, but like how long is a little while,
Yeah.
right? Like
He seems
it's
like an
vi
IR to return type of guy. Like if the Lions want to use one of those two spots on Cologne, it would make sense because when we're going to talk about backup center here in a second, but like I think he had a legitimate shot to win that job. It felt like it was trending in his direction before he got injured.
and that's kind of where I'm at with the numbers game. Like because I think you make those decisions, Miko, along the interior based on like what those tackle numbers are. And I think that just naturally segues into the conversation you need to start with is the backup center job. And I feel like Kingsley Aguakin is just the guy at this point. I don't feel like great about it, but it's just kind of by Frank Ragnow's retirement that Kingsley Aguakin is the backup center. Like Michael Neese didn't do too much to prove to me that he's capable of handling this job. But to Jeremy's point, like I think Tristan Colon very well could have been the backup center. And maybe that could have changed your numbers along the interior or made you feel more comfortable about, spending that extra spot on the offensive line at the tackle position.
Yeah, I'm kind of in lockstep with both of you where I would obviously keep Iguaquin just for the time being because I think like if you need to have a backup center for week one and possibly, the first 4 weeks of the season, then hey, go with a guy that's gotten a good amount of reps that seems to have like again had a little bit of an up and down time throughout the offseason, but still like seems to be trending in the right direction for the most part. And the coaching staff does seem to still believe in him a bit and just see where Tristan Colon is in a few weeks. And if he's right and you feel like, you know what, he's honestly the better guy to have as the backup center, Jeremy, then hey, you activate him and then you make a roster move where possibly you end up, waiving a Kingsley Iwakwen or possibly move him to guard or something of that nature, but you find a way of making those numbers work so that you have the security that you need for that, offensive line.
Yeah, and I think really the most poignant point about the backup center job is that Kingsley's been repping with the twos pretty much ever since Cologne's injury, and it has not shifted. They were doing a three-man rotation at the beginning of training camp, but Neese has pretty much consistently been the last one out there. Now, I do think they've performed on like a relatively level field. I don't think Aguakin is necessarily that much ahead of Neese, but because that rotation just completely stopped, it felt like they settled on a decision. And listen, Dan Campbell also praised Aguakin this past week, talked about his smarts, how he has kind of the mind for that center position, that he's going to be able to call the right protections and slide the protections the right way and get the offense into the right looks. It's just a matter of like, he's small. The Lions are used to having these massive centers, and he's small, and he doesn't anchor as well because he doesn't have the lower body strength. But I think the hope is that you continue to build that out. You continue to give him reps in practice, and eventually that develops. And he's certainly improved on that, but it just feels like he's pretty much locked into that position. And, if Cologne does take over mid-season, then you probably waive Aguakin, and he probably just strolls right to your practice squad, and you continue that development.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
at the guard position, I think you feel pretty comfortable about Coyote at guard.
Yep.
Um, what to make of Miles Frazier? He's eventually going to be in the mix at some point.
Yeah.
That's where things get interesting for me, Ryan, with the guard position, because I think Coyote's like for sure. I think Muti has done enough this year where you're like, okay, like that's your other backup guard, but then there's Miles Frazier hanging out in the wind, and you're kind of like, well, what do we do once that guy's healthy?
Right.
And it feels like Jeremy, for me, maybe the Lions might have to make a move at another position, like because I think you would still like to keep Moody as an option because Miles Frazier has missed so much at camp where it's like you can't necessarily have him as just another one of your backup guards, like first man up in the event that you have something happen to either Mahogany or Ratledge.
Yeah, Moody is a really interesting conversation to me right now because you have your backup veteran guard in Aushika. And I thought a really interesting thing happened in this game where somewhere in the second quarter, Aushika left. They were done with Aushika and they replaced him with Nice. And so I'm like, oh, that seems like you're protecting Aushika to me. He seems like the fact that he pulled him instead of Muti showed me that Aushika is kind of above Muti. But do you need that many reserve interior guys when you're gonna keep Iguakin, you're gonna keep Aushika? Do you need a third interior guy in Muti? That would be your OL10. And it's just like, I don't know, maybe. I think like OT10 versus wide receiver 7 versus DB10 versus DL10, like those are the conversations that are going to be happening behind the scenes. I'm certainly played with Moody as my OL10, and I don't think it's out of the question, but it does seem like a little bit of overkill. And I do wonder, like, Moody is one of these guys that are on the roster bubble that actually has a little bit of experience. We always talk about when we're talking about these guys that are passing through waivers, these young guys, guys like Jackson Meeks and Dominant Lovett. Is there going to be someone that sees that development and wants it on their 53? What about like the guys that have a little bit of experience? To be clear, I'm saying this without entirely knowing whether Moody has enough experience to be a veteran and not pass through waivers and just be a guy that you can cut and bring back, release and come back. I should double check on that because if that's the case, like that's ideal. Like then you cut Moody, you say, hey, we're going to bring you back on the practice squad. Great. But if he has to go through waivers, he's one of those guys that it might not seem from the outside looking in that he would get claimed, but I mean, how many good or at least playable offensive linemen who have experience are out there?
Yeah. The biggest factor in all this is Iguakin, right? And like him being the backup center. If there was another player on this roster, like I think if Tristan Colon was healthy, Miko, then I think Kingsley Iguakin would be a candidate for the practice squad because I would rather have
Hmm.
Muti or Awashika as guards ahead of Iguakin. Because if I felt comfortable with somebody who was a backup center, then that's where Kingsley loses a bit of his value to the team as it's currently constructed. I would love him to stick around in the practice squad and get some more work. And I think in an ideal world, you get Tristan Colon back. You have an opportunity to put Aguakin back on that practice squad, and then you can roll with your veterans and hopefully eventually. Like I'm really intrigued to see some Miles Frazier. Like I just want to see some Miles Frazier play some football. And I know Brad was super excited to get him, and there's that stuff from the inside the den. It's just like we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. I mean, do they want him to play tackle? Do they want him to play guard? I think they probably still want to kind of figure some of that stuff out themselves.
Yeah, Jeremy, I would assume that like Frazier may be like a candidate for like that in season IR, possibly just so like they just give him some more time to get perfectly right before they start doing anything with him.
So they can actually just keep him on the pup. They go from the
Okay.
active pup to the reserve pup, and I assume that's what they're going to do. There's no reason to activate him before the 53-man roster. When one, he hasn't practiced at all, so he's going to be essentially useless to you for the first 4 games of the season. And two, we don't really even know where he is at in terms of his rehab. So I think they're just going to give him at least a month to be like, hey, figure it out, get healthy, and then maybe we start your window, your 21-day window after those 4 weeks, and then you have an additional 3 weeks to decide what to do with that roster spot. And just to go back really quick, I did check Moody's accrued seasons, and according to Over the Cap, he has 4, which does make him a veteran, which means he would not go on waivers. So if you want to play kind of the roster game there, there's no guarantee. He has 0 guaranteed money too, so cutting him is not going to cost you any cap space. You cut him, you bring him back on the practice squad, and then you elevate him if you need him.
Yeah, and that's a guy who got hurt last year
Yep.
early in camp, and they kept him around. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like there's a little bit of a history with those two. So he could be like a sneaky candidate to for some roster shenanigans, Miko.
I think so. I think there's another thing that's also a little sneaky is like the savings that you can get at Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, right? The Pride of Detroit podcast is brought to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. It's the jerky that fuels the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Each 2 ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each stick has 8 grams. Trust me, if it's good enough for the Lions, it's going to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced all natural black Angus beef and pride itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. Guys, the season is starting in a couple of weeks, which means there's only a little bit of time for you to be able to get that 20% savings. I'm about to take advantage of that literally next week once my paycheck hits because I'm going to make sure I get as much jerky as I can at a reasonable cost well before then. Ryan, please tell me that you've already stocked up for the season.
I'm biding my time. I'm gonna make my order the same time I order my jelly beans that I need to eat out of a cereal bowl. But you know what? The way I'm gonna bounce back and not feel so awful about myself after eating all those jelly beans is by eating Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. Because why, Jeremy? Macros.
A lot of protein, minimal calories, awesome flavors. I'm enjoying some teriyaki Balboa right now, and I got to tell you, teriyaki is maybe one of the best sauces behind buffalo.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Plant your flag.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And where are there? How many other like companies are giving you teriyaki sauces, gochujang sauces, turkey jerky that are peppered perfectly? Out of this world. Crab seasoning.
Can't find that anywhere else, honestly. At least I have never found it anywhere else other than Righteous Felon. So go over to righteousfelon.com, use the promo code POD20 at checkout to get 20% off your order. Again, that's promo code POD20 at righteousfelon.com. And again, guys, this is for a limited time. You have 2 weeks to get your order in before this promo code is no longer available and you can't get this type of savings. So definitely take advantage. When we come back, we're going to talk about, again, who's in and who's out over on the defensive side. I think there are still some interesting conversations to be had across that defensive line and the secondary. There's still some things that we got to figure out in terms of who's going to stick around on this final 53-man roster. So stay tuned right after this. Jeremy out here waving his meat in front of the camera.
That's right. I forgot that my lights are in front of my camera, so I tried to like get a nice close in here, but it's too dark. I have to pull it back here.
There was a lot of
This is
meat
like just
that
like
was
really
dangling.
nice crumbling. All right. All
No,
right.
I mean like that. I mean, I'm just saying.
Joe, don't let me forget that question. I'll explain it to you in a minute, but I do want to get through the alerts first. Excuse me. All right. Zero Slub, thank you for the 21 months subscribed on Twitch. J Rago, 12 months. That's a full freaking year subscribed on Twitch. Appreciate that. Are we keeping you up, Ryan? You
What?
Right into the mic?
I didn't mean to. I meant to be muted. It's like the inverse of Miko.
Oh, dang.
This is what I get for being polite. That's all right. I'll just talk over you in the next segment.
Being polite? Call me Larry the Cable Guy all last show.
You did that to yourself. You did that to yourself. I didn't dress you that morning.
He didn't cosplay. Moldy Cornbread, thank you for 35 months subscribed. Says, oh my god, fourth Twitch baby due in a month. I think I need to look into getting a minivan. What do you and your 3 kids get around in, Ryan?
A Dodge Journey. It's not ideal. It's not great. No trunk space.
We need
Third
a
row
car
seating.
sponsorship.
We do.
Could use one.
And maybe like, I don't know.
Same.
Get like a sample so that we can like, listen, we obviously have the beef jerky. Give us a little POD 20, POD 70 for a Ford whatever.
I think the three of us would be perfect in a Ford commercial. Possibly the 4 of us have Eric drive us around in a
That's right.
And he can like showcase like, oh, look at the, I don't know, OnStar features to get your car unlocked for when you leave all your stuff in it.
See?
Or you have to go to work.
Already writing the commercial for us.
All right, let's talk about it. But before I finish the alerts and get to the very good questions, let's talk about Eric locking himself out of his car.
Can I ask you you never answered my question on Twitter.
What was it?
Um, so let me scroll here for a second. Dang it. Where'd it go? It was just here a second ago.
That's why I didn't see it.
All right.
You thought you tweeted it.
I said, longtime listener, first time question submitter for the midweek mailbag. What's the deal with the higher ups at Pride of Detroit losing their keys? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, here's what I think is very odd about his situation. He drives with nothing in his pockets. No wallet, no keys, nothing. No cell phone.
Like,
so
he just doesn't like to have those things in his pockets while he's driving.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Oh, that's fair. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that either.
Here's what happened. He parked his car, engine still on, got out of it to check the lines, closed the door. So the car is running. His keys are inside the car. His wallet is inside the car. His phone is inside of the car. His credential is inside the car. His computer and computer bags are in the car. And for some reason cannot open the door. You know, with my car, which is and it's a new car too. With my car, if the keys are in the vicinity and you touch the handle, it opens up. It unlocks. But maybe it's different when the car is running. I don't know. And my car certainly doesn't automatically lock when I open and close a door when it's running. But like,
I mean,
So not. Yeah,
his wife also has like
weird.
the remote key, and it just wasn't working. And I think the explanation there is like
the car's running.
the car is running. You probably don't want someone to be able to unlock it while it's running. And so,
Fair point.
I mean, what would you do in that situation?
I mean, personally,
Mm-hmm.
I try to get as far away from the car as possible so people don't think I'm trying to break into it. But that's just my
Fair.
life experience is a little different than others.
The car was in park, yes. I don't know what kind of car it is, but I do know it's new-ish.
I
I feel
don't
like
think I've ever been locked out of my car, so like I don't even know.
Yep. Call Laura is a great answer, except you don't have a phone.
yeah, I mean, you can approach somebody and ask them to use their phone, right?
That's essentially like there was a security guard played hero today in the parking where like yeah he did eventually call Laura. But here's a great question, Ryan. If you had to call your wife without your phone,
I know her number.
you do know her number?
I do know her number. I was gonna say though, I have AAA
Mhm.
like as part of my car insurance, so I could just like call AAA and tell them to come like unlock the car. But that would take a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like if I'm Eric Schlitt,
it did take a long time. He had to wait like an hour, maybe longer.
go find a police officer. Open up my car for me, Mr. Police Officer.
Yeah. So I got there like 30 minutes after he did. I parked in a different garage, but the problem we were running into is that his wife was coming there and we weren't even sure if he knew that his wife was on the way. And so I was just going to like be the liaison for getting to the parking lot, notifying Eric that she's on her way, and then like getting the keys from his wife to him. But it turned out I wasn't even necessary. Like Eric was just waiting outside the parking lot, saw his wife, got the keys, and they were fine. But it like apparently he was just like outside the parking garage for 45 minutes, just standing there with nothing to do. Like you can't even like mess around on your phone or anything.
Yeah, but Eric's also old enough to know like life before having cell phones, so like I'm sure he's used to it.
Shots fired. The thing though that I'm having a hard time understanding is that Eric needs to admit that he locked the doors.
Oh, so you think it wasn't the car? You think on his way out he locked the door somehow?
He had to have locked the door somehow because when you park a car,
Hmm.
the doors unlock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if the car's on, like you put it in park, the doors unlock. You open the door. The only way that door is getting locked is if like you lock it yourself.
So how does that happen though? Like, as you're reaching for the handle to open it, you lock it.
I, it's either that or the robots are realizing that he's like a sentient threat. Like the machine,
He's part
like
robot.
yeah, science has advanced too far and they're crabs in a bucket and trying to just pull him back down. That's what's happening. So it's one of those two things, either like robots or
Or he just
Eric
accidentally opened it.
accidentally locked the door.
It could 50-50.
Get Steven Spielberg on the horn.
All right. Sorry, I don't want to be chewing into the microphone. Grandpa QB, 20 months subscribed on Twitch, says Hendon Hooker played himself onto our practice squad. No one else will want him now. I mean, maybe. We'll see. I think the least likely scenario is that he lands on the Lions 53. I don't know what happens after that.
I mean the two teams that were in town to actually see him up close and personal. The Dolphins have their three quarterbacks.
Yep.
They're gonna have two of
Texans
Zach
trotted
Wilson
out
and
4.
Quinn Ewers, yeah. And I guess
They
we're
all
gonna
looked
talk
good.
about it in the second segment.
That they all looked good because the
Yeah.
Lions DBs were not great. What were their stats?
For the Texans quarterbacks were a combined 25 of 32 for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns,
Great.
a 107.8 passer rating, and one just absolutely bizarre interception by Tyson Russell.
Yeah. I forgot about the interception. S. Bishop says most cars anymore will lock when you close the door, even when the car is in park and the car is on.
Who's this? Is this Eric's burner?
If you rearrange the letters in S. Bishop, it spells Eric Schlitt. Don't check. Jed in Savannah, 100 bit, says if Hooker doesn't get picked up for the practice squad, do the Lions pick up a third quarterback for the practice squad? I would think so, yes. I think generally speaking, they want to have 3 quarterbacks on their team between the 53 and the practice squad. So
Jake Fromm.
pull them out from insurance.
Kenny Pickett. The Browns
Kenny?
have like 6.
I think they're keeping Kenny Pickett.
Keaton Slovis.
I heard the Browns are keeping 4 quarterbacks.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I do think that has been thrown out there. I don't know if they actually will, but Tommy DeVito, who's the quarter? Is he the quarterback today that was just like tweeting through getting cut?
No, that was
The
Ben
airport beer
DiNucci.
guy? Ben DiNucci.
Yeah.
I knew it was Italian sounding. J-Man Jr., 50-month subscribe, says FTP. Yeah, it is FTP season, officially. Can I get a bunch? Let me see some FTPs in the chat from our Twitch subscribers, please.
I feel like I have room for like 52 FTPs out of a possible 53.
Voidbringer. Thank you for the follow on Twitch. Captain James Kirk 10-bit says Stewart the new superback. Maybe. Damian Smith, £5 super chat on YouTube, says 2 questions. 1, do the Lions have good depth? 2, were the Lions trying to win or to evaluate talent? Felt like a less tough preseason than before. I don't know. It's a good question. I was very relieved at the end that Dan Campbell wasn't using his timeouts, because I feel like maybe Dan Campbell 3 or 4 years ago would have used some timeouts at the end of that game to try to get one more possession out of his offense.
Yeah. I'm glad he let that game die.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like the evaluation ended like after the third quarter, where he was like, all right,
Right.
let's just get home.
I was going to bring it up during our wide receiver conversation. It's just like, yeah, Meeks and Lovett didn't do anything, but how much of that is Hendon Hooker?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's all like I should have said that. That's kind of what I was
I said that.
insinuating though.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I said that about Meeks. Like, kind of hard for him to get
Yeah.
a lot of shine when he's playing with Hendon Hooker for most of the game.
But I
Yeah,
do
I mean,
I do want to talk about, like, are you guys at all concerned about the depth after today?
where? Like the entire roster?
Yeah, generally speaking.
No. I think in the areas where it's going to matter most, like especially like we're talking like first team, second team stuff, like no, like I'm fine.
Yeah. I think even a lot of the second teamers were out by like the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, I think for me, like I mean, we'll talk about it in the next segment, but like I mean, I think if you're worried about like some of these like DBs, maybe. But
Right.
I also feel like some of these DBs would play better if they had Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport and DJ Reader like
Yeah, dude, there was
on the
no
defensive
pass
line.
rush today for like 99% of the game.
I was just
Maitland
waiting
played
to
his
be,
way onto the roster,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
yeah, I was just waiting for anything to happen in the defensive line. And like in the fourth quarter, it's like, oh, there's Broderick Martin.
Did
I
he
was
do
like,
something? I didn't notice.
no, I just noticed
Oh,
him on the
he's out
field
there.
for the first time.
Yeah.
Uh,
The the biggest concern I would say depth wise remains offensive line, and that is a problem for 32 teams. But
like
I
a
don't
way
know.
bigger concern than you had going into the draft.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we were looking at a case where Graham Glasgow was a guy that might not start, and now it's like, please, God, don't get injured.
Yeah, he gets injured on Thursday, and it's like, oh my God.
Right. The
Please be
season's
okay.
over.
Yeah.
But like, I think, but the issue is that I feel that way at pretty much every offensive line position, right? Offensive tackle is scary. Center is scary. Guard is a little bit less scary, but still a little bit scary.
I feel like tackle's been scary for like the last few years though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, I don't know. We've just been fortunate where we haven't had to like be without either for super long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Decker's always like bound to like get banged up and like miss like a game or two here and there. And it's like, oh, okay, like we can get by with Dan Skipper. And
Dan
it's like,
Skipper and Brock Wright.
yeah,
Stay
Yeah.
on Hooker's hip. I'm sorry, Hooker's. Stay on Skipper's hip.
Skipper's hip. You were real quick,
go.
Jeremy. You were
Yeah.
going to. Are you through alerts yet or no?
Am I what?
Are you through alerts or no?
No, I got like
Oh,
two or
okay.
three more.
I was going to remind you of that question that they had about IR spots.
Yeah. Yeah, Detroit, 72 months. I think, yeah, Detroit has the longest sub. 72 months is crazy. Is that 6 years? I think that's 6 years.
Yep.
That's crazy. That may be as long as we've been a partner with Twitch. 6 freaking years.
I was gonna say that's just about as long, right? I don't know. How long have you guys been on Twitch?
I don't know.
Like
Probably
5
about 6
years,
years.
6
I mean,
years, yeah.
it's definitely at least 6. If someone has been sub for 6 years, we've been on Twitch for at least 6 years.
How many months was it?
72.
Yeah.
And I think it took us at least maybe a year to get partner. I don't remember.
It definitely happened like COVID. So like 2020, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Either way,
Something. Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, Detroit. Captain James Hurt 10 bit says, a parent of 3, I cannot recommend a minivan enough.
I
Fair.
can't wait. I'm so excited.
Lions
I
Blood 20.
refuse.
You refuse?
Me
What
and
if-
Kalila have been on the same page for that forever. We refuse to get a minivan.
That means you're too young. You just need to get to a point where you don't care about public perception anymore.
Nah, I just like I don't like how they drive. They're awkward.
Lions Blood 49 months says Hooker's available for every team. Robert Kraft on line 1. It's Patriots quarterback depth terrible.
I think that's a massage parlor
Oh,
joke.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's definitely what that is. Slip that one by me, Lions Blood. Well done. Ty, thank you for the follow. And Kick Puncher, thank you for the 18 months subscribed to the channel. Says FTP. Also go Tigers. When I walked out of the stadium and they were literally finishing up the national anthem at the Tigers game, I'm like, oh man, kind of want to just walk over. Just
You
hang
know
out.
who you know who did that? Jason Benetti.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. I like was listening to I was eating dinner and the Tigers game, I turned it on and I was like, is that Benetti? I was like, I guess he just
Wild.
had to walk across the street, but like at the same time.
What a pro, dude.
Yeah.
I haven't
like,
been watching obviously the broadcast because I can't, but I assume he's doing fine.
yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's all right.
I feel like there was
I'll be happy. I'm glad that it's over, but it was fine.
So I have the game on my tablet so that I can like rewind and watch replays, and it felt like every time I looked over it was Benetti and Lang, and they were showing them instead of like a replay or something. I'm like, what's happening here? Why
During yeah.
they were putzing with something at some point. I don't remember what.
I know at one point the broadcast, number 77,
Oh God,
trying to remember his name.
Zach
Um,
Johnson.
Zach Johnson, yeah.
he got called for a holding penalty. I think it was the Hendon Hooker throw.
Mm.
Um, but like
Oh.
TJ Lang was like demonstrating on Benetti, like where you're,
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah. And then they brought Rory in, and like
That's what it
yeah.
was. Rory was there and he had like his headphones on his mouth or something. I'm like, what is happening in the broadcast right now?
No, and TJ
There
Lang
was a
was
Michigan
like,
State Spartan guy out there. Was he just promoting the Spartans game at Ford Field? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, I think
that's
he's
what
like
was
the new
happening.
AD or something like that.
And then Spielman was in there to do the Robert Porsche announcement.
That part was good. Like, I don't know. I always like enjoy listening to Spielman talk, especially like actually talk football. But
Well, yeah, because he got on and he was like doing the
Telestrator?
telestrator a little bit, and like he
Nice.
wasn't working it the right way, and he's like, "Cut me some slack." Like it's been 5 years. Like
God, that's right. It's almost easy to forget that used to be his job.
I remember he was the genesis of "Good job, Joe Dahl. Good job."
That's right. Good job, Joe Dahl, Chris Spielman. And I was one of the few that didn't love him as an analysis guy. Now, to be fair, like I still think he's above average. But like people like loved Chris Spielman on the broadcast. I'm like, I get it, but
I liked him.
no.
Do you feel like it has something to do with the fact like that he was like an awesome football player for the team?
I mean, a little bit, sure. You get a little.
I think, yeah, you get a little rub that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely had people that I
Really nice-
disliked more.
Yeah.
Like whenever
same.
whenever the broadcast comes on and you see like the two dudes, you're just like, oh, it's gonna be one of those.
Yeah. And to be clear, Spielman, awesome as a person. Eric and I actually ran into him on our way in, and he stopped and said hi real quick, and just little things like that. Like he recognized us. You could tell he recognized us. I don't know if he knows our name, but he recognized us. He's just like, oh, hey, fellas.
Chris Spielman seems like that would be his go-to. Like he knows you from somewhere, but he doesn't know like your
Maybe.
name, and he just goes with fellas.
Listen, and I don't have any expectation that he knows me or should know me. He shouldn't. Who cares?
I have students walk up to me and try to do that whole thing, and I tell them right from the jump, I'm awesome with faces. I'm not very good with names. I know I had you in class 6 years ago. I don't know your name anymore. Don't take
What-
it personal.
Do you have like a name replacement that you normally go to? Buddy? Dude, what's up, dude? What's up,
No,
bucko?
if they're like, "Hey, Mr. Matthews," I'm just like, "Hey, great with faces." I can't remember your name right now, though.
See, I think that's something only teachers can get away with though, because like I think people understand like, oh, you've had like it's been 6 years since I was in your class. You've had X amount of classes a day. Like, okay, you maybe don't remember me.
Yeah, I have like 150 students a trimester. So like in theory, I could go through like 450 kids in a year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't remember those
You know,
kids like the
I'm-
next week.
Yeah, I'm very horrible with names too. I feel bad too, and like I try so hard now when I meet people to like immediately try to do some sort of mnemonic to remember their name. Like there was someone on the final day of training camp who said hi to me as I was walking off the field, and I asked his name. I couldn't tell you what it is right now, and I feel terrible about it. And if it's you and you're watching, I'm sorry, but I forgot your name. And I don't take it personally. It's something that I continue to try to work on, and I haven't found something that works.
I, I'm quick at learning names. Like school starts on Monday, I'll have everybody's name and face down by like Tuesday.
What I need is like every time I meet someone, it has to be at a bowling alley where your name is literally on a screen in front of me for an hour.
Yeah, I'm the worst with names. Like,
Just how about name tags?
How
about permanent name tags? Can we just do that? Just like everyone on their breastplate
it would help me
embroidered
out a
into their
ton.
clothes.
Because like if I don't talk to you, like if you're not someone that I talk to like on a daily or at least weekly basis, the likelihood that I'm gonna remember your name like goes out the window.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. Okay. No. All right.
All right. What
Now
did you
that
order
I've-
from Culver's, Miko? Can we talk about food?
Take it back to food to pull us out of this tailspin.
Oh, bacon Culver's Deluxe.
What do you do? What do you do for a side? I can honestly say that I think I've only gotten food at Culver's once.
Um, oh, onion rings. They have like some of the best onion rings.
Oh,
Interesting.
now I need to try it.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a
Salted well.
free replacement or is that like an upgrade?
It's probably an upcharge, but they're that good where you like
Worth
don't
it.
really care. Yeah. I like it better than they have like the crinkle cut fries and they're too soft. I like my fries crispy.
Pretzel? They got pretzel bites?
They do.
Dang, I got to be a little bit
I
more.
thought about getting them today.
Gotta get more creative with my Culver's orders. I just always default to crinkle cut. I do like crinkle cut. I don't know what it is about them. But if they're not crispy, then that's bad.
Yeah, they're just like the
Now-
soggy crinkle cut fries.
Yeah,
Like
that's-
yeah.
that just reminds me of like elementary school lunch.
Mm-hmm. Crinkle cut's cool with like for like chili cheese fries. Like I'm cool with that because like everything at that point I'm expecting everything to be soggy.
That's fair.
But yeah, like if it's just like straight up fries, like I need some crisp.
I feel like if you start putting stuff on top of the fries, like toppings and stuff, like my default go-to is always waffle fries. Like I just like waffle fries for putting stuff on top of it.
Maximum surface area.
Yeah.
See, I typically go steak fries. I like the
Just because they're like
thicker fries.
thicker.
Yeah.
Steak fries are an underrated kind of fry.
Waffle fries feel like a natural scoop. You know what I mean? And like with steak fries, like
that's fair.
they're sturdy enough. Like steak fries are sturdy enough to like withstand. Like I'm picking it up and like all the toppings are staying on it because it's like, as JC says, the girth.
Yeah.
Zern Baby Zern asked, have any of you had the chicken sandwiches at Culver's? I think they're seasoned.
Oh yeah, they just got new chicken sandwiches. Like they
Like
just
a
did
fried
something
chicken?
new with. Yeah. They just did something new with their chicken.
I just love their butter burger so much. It's what I get every time.
Have you not tried it yet,
Yeah.
Nico?
The new I
The
I
new
think
chicken
I tried
sandwiches?
one. I think I tried one of them. I just can't remember if it was the spicy. Because their spicy chicken sandwich, their old one was good. Like good kick to it, and everything like that. But I can't remember if I've gotten the new one because I think I've been in such like a burger kick every time I've gone there the last few weeks.
Karen, one of my favorite resub messages, 36 months, says 4 Twitch babies and no epidural. Gritty. Well done, Karen.
You and Matthew Stafford cannot relate.
That's right. And he has 4 kids, but has had several epidurals. Uh, AD Jerome, 9 months, one Twitch baby. Appreciate that, Jerome. Nick the Greek, 100 bits, says, what kind of insurance will Hendon be selling 6 weeks from now?
Mm.
That's mean. That's mean. Can we just like
I
not
think he'll
be
get picked
mean
up
to
by
Hendon now?
somewhere.
Now that it's over, can we just not be mean to Hendon?
Yeah. I think he'll get picked up by someone because I think someone will see like arm talent and be like, we can,
Listen, he looks super
they'll take
athletic on
another
that
swing.
25-yard scramble.
Okay, yes, but like he also ran into the offensive lineman before he broke out and did it. Like
That is true.
it was like zero pocket awareness turned into like, oh my God, look how athletic he is.
Yep.
I think I agree, Miko. Like there might be somebody, but that's the tricky thing is that he ends up on your 53. So like what team out there is willing to
Oh,
dump
my
their
bad.
third
Yeah, I didn't mean
quarterback?
that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I meant like even if he doesn't make it to like the Lions practice squad, like he's going to end up on somebody's practice squad.
Yeah, like he could clear through waivers and then like if he doesn't end up back in Detroit, like might end up on somebody else's practice squad.
Yeah, like I think teams that come to mind immediately, like Baltimore, Philly, LA, maybe, like places like that, where like there's no expectation, like
Yeah.
zero expectation for you to even really compete for a roster spot anytime soon. Just like sit here and develop.
Everybody in chat, Jets.
Jets. I mean, I don't know. I guess. I mean, yeah.
Jets
How
and
much is
Bears.
Aaron Glenn? How much is
Every
Aaron Glenn like Hendon Hooker?
every single cut is going to go either to the Jets or the Bears.
I when you asked that question earlier, Jeremy, though, about if you're worried or concerned about the depth, I think the only thing, and I think that the coordinator stuff has been so overblown, like all off season long. That's why I'm most excited for football to start,
Sure.
is that I'm sick of reading preseason rankings from people overblowing, in my opinion, what I think is everybody overreacting to the bad season that the Eagles had in 2023. Like the Eagles had a
Right.
bad season in 2023, and everybody's like, you lose your coordinators, your team's screwed. And it's like,
Well, then the
okay.
next year they changed both their coordinators and they won the Super Bowl.
And then they won the Super Bowl. Oh,
Right.
but it was the difference between having DeAndre Swift as your lead running back and Saquon Barkley. So
Right.
wow. I mean,
Right.
wow, what a difference that makes.
Yeah.
But that's where I guess maybe my concern for the depth is like you have so many new coaches even beyond the coordinators. Like you have so many like new position coaches and stuff. Like having like all of your depth like ready to go in a way that last year with the defense, like Aaron Glenn could call a hell of a game. You know what I mean? And like your depth was ready to step up and like make enough plays in the end that they gave their offense a chance to win football games all the time. And like I think last season is a big of credit to coaching and Rob Lohman, right? Like
Sure.
um director of pro scouting. Like I think those two things were like the two real big testaments to last season. Was like coaching, pro scouting, getting those guys ready to like play in as little as like 3 or 4 days. Like, oh, we need you, Quan Alexander. We need you, Jamal Adams. We need you, you know, Jonah Williams. Like, you have to
Yeah.
step in and play like in a week's time. And
They did it.
I don't know. And they did it. So
They beat the
I think that
Packers.
they beat the Packers.
That game's ridiculous still. MNUFC 52 months subscribed on Twitch says all the focus is going to be on the playoff success, but what are some things you want to see from the regular season that will bring you joy?
JMO going over 1,000 again.
Marcus
like
Davenport playing 17
9.
games.
Ah, man.
That too, yeah.
Bold statement. If Marcus Davenport plays 17 games, the Lions have the number one defense in the NFL.
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay.
maybe.
I mean, I know that's just assuming that like everybody else is going to be healthy, but like
Right.
uh I think it was that quote I saw from Aiden where he was like, my leg like whipped into somebody and then I just like got up and I was fine. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, like I have a steel rod in it. Like it's
Right.
not gonna, you know what I mean? So I think it's so
Yeah.
funny that Johnny Moe's calling him werewolf when like Wolverine is sitting right there.
Right. It's true. I mean, Wolverine is perfect, right?
Yeah,
He looks like one. He's a
He's got the
former one.
chops.
He's got metal in his body. Like,
yeah, right.
I like this question a lot because I feel like I have a billion answers. Because like Jack Campbell becoming an All Pro linebacker is high on that list. Taron
What's the
Arnold.
exact question?
Oh,
With all the focus being on playoff success, what are some things you want to see from the regular season that will bring you joy?
Mm.
I feel like we have to list cast this because I feel like
When Terrion gets his first interception, it's going to be a frickin' party.
I said this during the game on Twitter, but like selfishly, I really want to see Grant Stewart play with the ones. Like I want to see Grant.
Don't.
I want to see Grant Stewart play in Alex Anzalone's spot just for a week.
No.
Just for a week. Just for a
Can't
week.
cover like Anzalone can at all.
That's okay. That's what they have Brian.
No.
That's what they have
That's what
Brian Branch
happened
for.
in the Bills game, Ryan.
That's what they have Brian Branch for. Everything will be okay.
but then they just forgot to cover like the running backs.
Yeah. And Grant
Hey,
Stewart
I don't
can't
think
do
Al,
that.
I don't
D-
yeah, I
don't
don't think Alexander Zolini was going to be able to do that either though. Ty Johnson was
better.
in his bag that
Well,
game.
unfortunately, it doesn't sound like Ezekiel Turner will have an opportunity to hurt you this year.
No, he unfortunately hurt himself quite a bit apparently tonight, which is a bummer. Well, I don't think he had that much of a chance to make the team, but you never like to see that. Although it is almost best case scenario is the worst way to put it, but most financially profitable scenario was this because now he gets in his entire salary now.
The injury settlement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a season-long injury, then he gets a season-long salary.
What about 2,500 all-purpose yards from Jahmyr Gibbs?
Oh, Jesus! 2,500!
Yeah.
Why do I feel like they're like that you put a bet on something? That's why you said that.
Currently,
Stop
that's
it.
plus 10,000.
He
I mean,
almost
it's
had
not-
2,000 last year.
1,000 would definitely be cool, especially since
Yeah,
since Amon-Ra said he'd buy him a house.
that would be hilarious. I'm just gonna be happy when Aleem's back. Like Aleem's first game back is gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like smiling from ear to ear.
That's fair. That's a good answer. Anything significantly productive out of Tasla is going to be fun too. Even though it means I'm going to be eating a lot of crow, I will happily eat that crow.
Movember award?
Oh, I got one.
What do you
If
want me to
Isaac
do?
Law has a
I have-
great.
I have to try to do the worm on stream.
Oh, you have to eat crow, like literally.
No. We don't need to add more things to my list of things I need to eat.
Put it in a smoothie, Jeremy.
Ugh. No, I think we're done with smoothies. I think we're done blend. I mean, obviously, I still have to do the JMO one, but that's going to be the last smoothie I think I put on the board.
Speaking of Crow, beating the Ravens would be a big one
Yeah.
because Lamar doesn't lose to the NFC, and now it's just be nice to be one of the few.
And plus, like, the last two times we've played the Ravens under this regime were painful for very different reasons, but painful nonetheless. The frickin' 66-yarder and just the absolute blowout
kicking?
in Baltimore.
Yeah,
I mean that.
Which one hurts more? I guess it still has to be the 66, right? Like, blowouts happen, whatever.
At that point in the Dan Campbell stuff, it was like, just give us one to get things started.
Right,
Like,
they were still winless at that
it's
point,
actually-
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like, not
That's
like
fair.
this. It's like, I hate kickers. Well, who's laughing now, Justin Tucker?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
One of us has a job. John Johnson 52. My dad hunts crow. I can get a carcass.
No, no. If I open my P.O. box one day and there's a dead crow carcass in there, I am getting rid of the P.O. box immediately. We are done with the P.O. box. Y'all still need to get Miko a cowboy hat, by the way.
Oh man.
The first person to send a crow with a 18 spray painted on it.
Absolutely not.
Do you still need to answer that other question, Jeremy?
Yes. Do you have it, Ryan?
No,
Oh, it's
I
too
don't.
far. Like I tried going
Okay.
back and I couldn't get
I
to
know
it.
it was around IR. So let me explain IR really quick and all the variations of IR. So if you're on IR before the 53-man cutdown, so basically anyone who's been put on IR now up until Tuesday, you are out for the season. The only exceptions for that is if in the first, I think you get 8 or 10 days, if you come to an injury settlement, you can release someone from the IR, and then they can come back after their injury settlement is done. The length of their injury settlement, which is based on how long they think it's going to take you to recover. At cutdown day, on Tuesday, teams have 2 IR spots that they can use on players that they intend on returning. So they don't count against the 53. They go straight to IR, but those 2 players can return after 4 weeks at a minimum of 4 games. Minimum 4 games. Not that it really matters, but 4 games.
Real quick, who do you
Yes.
think? Do you think Miles Frazier is one of those guys?
No. No, you don't have to with Miles Frazier. Miles Frazier's on
Okay.
PUP. He's on PUP,
Okay.
so you just go from active
yeah.
PUP to reserve PUP.
The reserve pup. Yeah.
Yep. It's the same deal where you only miss 4 games, but it doesn't take up an IR spot, doesn't take up an IR to return spot. You just go to PUP. It's basically why you put players on PUP at the beginning of training camp, so you don't have to spend that roster spot. Now, if there's examples of how they might use that is Ahmed Hassanin, Tristan Colon, and then we were talking about this let's say there's 3. Let's say Maurice Norris is the 3rd. What do you do with that 3rd? You only have 2 spots. The 3rd would have to make the 53-man roster, wait a day, and then you move him to IR. So anyone that's moved to IR after you cut down to 53 and 1 day after, those guys can also return. There's a limit, I think, of 8 total.
Yeah,
Where
like
you
during
can
the season.
During the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they would have to, you would have to make them make the 53-man roster. And so, like, we were talking about it on the PODD video, like, there is a small chance Maurice Norris makes the 53-man roster just so they can put him on IR to return. Because they might be spending those other spots on Ahmed Hassanin and Tristan Colon.
Remember last season where they returned so many players from IR during the season? Like they were starting to flirt with that like 8 number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that became like a real thing.
Yep. And so to bring PUP and NFI into it, so the guys that are on PUP and NFI right now, how many are there? Let me look real quick.
They have
So Pascal,
NFI and PUP.
yep, Pascal, Miles Frazier, Aleem McNeil, Malcolm Rodriguez. Those 4 guys will all almost certainly go to reserve NFI, reserve PUP. Those guys will be ineligible to play in the first 4 weeks of the season, but they can return after that. They don't take up one of the IR to return spots. Of the 6 or 8 of them, whatever it is, they don't take up any of those. They're in their own category, and there's unlimited return from NFI, a return from PUP.
And is it the same rule that once they are activated, it's that 21-day window?
Yep. They can return to practice after 4 weeks. They don't jump on the 53-man roster right after that. You get those 3 weeks of practice if you want them, and you can activate them to the 53-man roster whenever you want in those 3 weeks.
So they can play in games during that 21-day window?
Only
Or
if
no?
you activate them to the 53.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So if that guy just needs 1 week of practice and you're ready to go, then you can take him off the PUP and get him to go. So Levi is actually technically already on the reserve PUP. So theoretically speaking, he can return whenever after 4 weeks or more, but they've already told us that he's done for the year.
Yeah. I think like the guy the guy on that fits that criteria most likely to come back soonest is Pascal, right?
Maybe. I mean, we got the news this week that his timeline got pushed back, which it was basically Dan telling us that he was going to start on the reserve pup. He isn't going to make the 53. He's
Right.
going to start on the reserve NFI.
I guess looking at it though, like I meant like guy that would
Yeah.
like play. Like Miles Frazier isn't going to come back and like immediately play unless they obviously like need the help there. But like Aleem is not until what we're thinking like.
October, November.
Well, I mean, I know he did say that like he was like a little bit ahead of schedule, but like
Yep.
maybe like end of October being
Yeah.
super optimistic, but like
I think so.
early November maybe
Yeah, that
before
sounds,
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Malcolm could be a
Malcolm?
little bit before that, like October.
Yeah. I mean, it would be unfortunate if like Malcolm was ready earlier than Josh Pascal.
Right.
Malcolm's return is also another one that's going to be interesting to see what they do with. Because, like,
I think Zach Cunningham is probably the first to go.
yeah.
Sorry, Ryan. I mean, you can come back on the practice squad. And listen, we don't know what the roster is going to look like at that point, right? Like there could be other guys that go on IR that open up spots. Like that's just the nature
That's
of the
way
season.
down the line.
So like
Yeah.
just assuming it'll be a linebacker for linebacker swap and they'll have to cut someone is a big assumption. But yeah, it's just that people are like, you sound like Eric with all the knowledge you have. Like, I obsess over roster rules, salary cap rules. I'm very much like a rules guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this is like who Jeremy has been.
Yeah.
Did you see that video that Marty put in here of them rushing Jason Benetti over to Tiger
No.
Stadium?
Can you throw it in the Slack? I would love to share it.
It's in the Twitch. Marty Tuhati shared it. It's not too
I
far
see.
up.
What do we, if I'm, I don't know what the rules are on sharing it. This is from their broadcast,
No, this is the Tigers posted this.
but it wasn't part of the broadcast of.
No, it wasn't part of the broadcast.
Okay, then we're not.
It's like a
breaking
it's like a personal
copyright.
video.
Okay,
I don't think so.
perfect. Okay, let's watch it then. That should be fine. Desktop.
Let's go.
Awesome. Thank you all for the ride.
All right,
Do
you
I
ready?
tip on the app? How does that
Sorry,
work?
I'm not sharing this with you guys.
5 stars. So we got what, 2 hours to first pitch? Is that right?
This is already starting.
Yes.
What's going on?
She's like, how she's like
Yell my
sandwiched
name.
between two people with the backpack.
Did we waze this?
It's been updated and it's looking much better for us.
Awesome.
This almost feels
Let me know
unnecessary.
when it recalculates. Thanks.
Absolutely.
This is one of those rides where you say to the driver afterward, you're like, hey, I'm really sorry for the short trip. Oh, Jason! Yo, how's it going?
Wait for
Do you
Kim.
wanna just try to like drive over it like Thelma and Louise?
If we were going in the other direction, I totally would
You
be
would.
down for that.
How's it going? Hey, how you doing? This city is just crazy for sports. It's awesome. Thank you all. Appreciate it. How we doing? How y'all doing? Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
So great. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That was amazing. I loved every second of that. From like him cracking jokes about how unnecessarily of a short trip it is to him praising Detroit fans for everyone yelling his name.
Yeah, just loving sports.
That man is a treasure. I can't believe he did both. That's so wild to me.
Pulling a double. Really endears him to this blue collar city, you know?
I bet a ton of fans took in both, and I bet most of them enjoyed the Tigers game way more.
But they end up
They-
winning.
They won.
They did. That's
and
cool.
I was shocked because some people in the chat were just like, "Oh yeah, Tigers win." I'm like, I just left the stadium and they hadn't started. Baseball goes fast now. I think it was like 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm like, dang, that's I feel like
Yeah.
most sports take at least 2.5 hours now. Like hockey's 2.5, football's 3, college football's like 3.5. I don't know how
Basketball's a
long.
lifetime.
Basketball's 3 hours, right? Or is that it's 2.5 too?
You know what I found out? I don't think I mentioned this on stream, but I got invited by somebody I coached track with to Thomas McGee's. Have you ever been there in
Mm-mm.
Detroit?
Mm-mm.
Uh, it's a it's a soccer pub, and
Okay.
they're like, and they're he's a Liverpool fan, and I think it's like a Liverpool bar. Um, but he says it gets pretty busy in there, like during Lions games. Like a lot of people go to it. It's over there by like Eastern Market. Um, but yeah, I went there for a soccer game. Soccer games go by so fast.
Really?
I mean, it's
There's like no
two,
stoppages, right?
yeah, it's like two 45-minute halves.
Yeah. And there's only,
Uh, and the clock is continuously running, and then they
Right.
add like, a
6 or
couple
7
minutes of
minutes.
stoppage time. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like you're in and you're out in like 2 hours.
How long is halftime?
Not very long. Like, I want to say it's probably like 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. Did they call it something else? Halftime?
No, I'm not going to say anything insulting. I legit had an awesome time though. Like it was really cool. Like
Yeah.
it was their first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool. Like everybody in the pub knew the song that they sing,
That's cool.
and yeah, it's a cool
Nice.
experience. I'm like, like
Shout out to
NFL
that bar that
bars
I've already
don't- yeah.
forgotten.
Thomas McGee's.
Thomas McGee's. Sounds like it's made up.
I think my friend told me they were the bar that wasn't allowing people in who were wearing Matthew Stafford jerseys.
That's very funny. Respect. Ikumizer says that's right. Couple more alerts and then we should probably jump back into it, huh? Great. Downgrade 20. Thank you for the 14 months. Says 14 for St. Brown. I'm trying hard to make excuses for Hooker, but I can't keep it up. Yeah, early in the game, I think he had maybe an argument when his 30-yard pass to Ronnie Bell got erased by a hold. But after that, I think it was all on Hendon.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Sports Turf Pro? What just happened?
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Did you just fall on your keyboard? Nick the Reek, 100 bits, says Marcus Davenport playing in more than 5 games. I'll take that too.
All right, more than 5 is like a really low bar, guys.
All right, we are caught up. I think we should talk some Lions defense.
Heck
All
yeah.
right.
Let's do it.
And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Second segment here. We're going to be talking Lions defense. Guys, number of different position groups that I think on this side of the ball, there is a little bit more variance. Not amongst the starters, but once you start to get to some of those depth pieces, I think there are some questions to be had in regards to, again, who's going to be backing up who. Jeremy, I kind of want to start with the secondary because I feel like that's where there's the most flux, right? And I think there's a lot of questions in regards to how the Lions are going to utilize some of their secondary depth because the way that they utilized them in the post or in the preseason, you had guys just moonlighting at other positions
Right.
that at the start of training camp we were for sure like, oh no, Rockison is like CB 3 or 4, and now we're like he's safety 3?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah, I think when we talk about the numbers that they keep at that position, I think you have to just make it DB. Like, don't talk about corners versus safeties, just defensive backs. How many defensive backs are they going to keep? And when you start running the numbers like Terrion, DJ Reed, Amik Robertson, Rock Ya-Sin, Avante Maddox, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, those are like your 7 locks, right? And I think you can actually probably throw Khalil Dorsey into that as well. I don't like the fact that he's already repping as the starting gunner in the first week that he's back from injury. I think you're already up to 8, which tells me, like, I don't know, they've kept anywhere from like 9 to 11 in the past. I think last year was 11, but I think in general that was a relatively high number. So you have one, maybe two roster spots left, and where are they weak, where are they strong? It's hard to say because they have all these guys that, well, they don't have a pure CB3. Rock Ya-Sin could be that guy, or Amik Robertson can be your outside corner 3, and then you just have Brian Branch or Avonte Maddox slide into the slot, and you're fine. And if if Amik goes down, you have Avonte Maddox, or you could do Brian Branch, or is Eric Hallett a guy that can just jump in and play every position as well? Is he your DB9, or do you want a more pure safety? We've been talking a lot about the battle between Lauren Strickland and Ian Kennelly. It's one of those guys DB9 or DB10. Is there an outside corner that you like? I mean, Ryan, we talked about it kind of off air. I don't know if any of those like pure corners on the outside made any sort of impression with you this game to say like, okay, that guy is DB8, DB9.
Yeah, I was going to say they made an impression, but not the one that I wanted them to make in the final preseason game. I thought Lauren Strickland had a stretch there where he was making play after play after play. And I know, that was an interesting spot that you highlighted, Jeremy, when you were talking about like the 12 players kind of fighting for roster spots between him and Kennelly. So Strickland does have the experience. Kennelly's the guy where it's like, we just got you, still trying to figure out maybe what we have in you. He was repping ahead of Kennelly on defense and special teams. It'd be interesting the decision they make there, but I was hoping that Nick Whiteside would make a couple plays, or who got a pick. But like, is that enough to just be like, okay, you're on the roster, we trust you to be a depth corner?
Was given a pick, I think, is maybe the more appropriate way to describe
the ball
it.
did find its way into his hands. I don't know if necessarily I would call that a ball hawking play, but he ended up making the play nonetheless.
Shout out Quintez Cephas.
Yeah, Quintez Cephas, man.
I had a comment there and I was like, maybe I shouldn't say that, but whatever. TJ Lang's way that he tried to dance around like Quintez Cephas's like time with the Lions was hilarious in the broadcast. He was like, injuries and some other things. It's like, we know the other things, TJ.
Yeah. Sponsored by FanDuel.
But I'm with you guys in terms of like none of these like pure corners really stood out in a big way, which is really disappointing because I think leading into this game, we were like, all right, this could be the game where somebody can separate themselves. On the flip side of that, though, a lot of these guys I would like to see end up on the practice squad, and I would like the Lions to continue developing them and see where they are a year from now. But Jeremy, if you told me like the Lions were just going to roll with like that initial 8 guys that you named, and then maybe one of these guys, I would feel pretty good about this secondary, to start. Obviously, secondary health can definitely vary throughout the season, but that initial 8 plus one of these guys would at least have me feeling somewhat confident going into the regular season.
I'm with you. I'm not really concerned about the depth anywhere in the secondary because they have so many of those versatile pieces, and I think guys like Rock Ya-Sin and Avonte Maddox, the primary depth guys have shown enough where you're like, okay, they can survive an injury or two here and there and be okay. The question to me is just like, who is that 9th guy, maybe a 10th guy? And I think it's, maybe you guys agree or don't, but I feel like it's between 3 guys, right? I think it's between Eric Hallett, the guy who has so much versatility at every position, and then it's one of those 2 safeties who've played a lot of special teams because, again, maybe Lauren Strickland had a better preseason on defense, but who's going to be the better value on special teams? Is it him or is it Kennelly? And so it's between those 3 guys, maybe 2 positions, maybe 1. But again, like I like pull out and I'm like, all 3 of those guys could make it to the practice squad, I think, without an issue, right? I don't think any of those guys are like, we have to save him so we don't go on the practice. So if the Lions want to go heavy in another position, I think they could, and just leave it at 8, leave it at 9. Like, I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but like if they are concerned about losing like Lovett or Meeks, this is a place where I think they could go light temporarily, go 8 DBs, bring all 3 of those guys back on the practice squad, and then elevate them early if you need them.
Yeah, that's a method that would make the most sense to me, right? And again, to give you that flexibility, Ryan, for the rest of your roster, because if like we're going to talk about defensive line here in a second, but like that's another group where there's going to be some variance, not just with the initial guys that are going to make the 53, but you have some guys that are on pup that eventually you have to bring back as well. So you may need that versatility at a position like DB where you can possibly stash a bunch of these guys on the practice squad.
Yeah. So I think we should talk about the defensive line because I don't know if anybody really made that great of an impression today in terms of I'm hoping that this guy does so much in this preseason game against the Houston Texans and just guarantees himself a roster spot because we felt like Al-Quadin Muhammad was going to make the roster and he had the sack today. I think that guy's a lock to make the 53.
Yeah.
Beyond that, like, did Mitchell Agude, did Isaac Ukwu, I mean, Nate Lynn had a pressure. He played kind of good in the second half, but it's like the second half against the Houston Texans in the final preseason game, like I, I, I think with Nate Lynn, I'm kind of leaning towards the Jackson Meeks evaluation where it's like he did so much in so many games. I'm not just going to say like one game he didn't really show up a ton and all of a sudden he's like not in their good graces. I think Nate Lynn is a guy who has played his way into like that discussion of like he should be on the roster. I can see him not making the roster, but I think he's made a strong enough case that I'm not sure what else he really could have done over this summer to get himself like locked onto the roster.
Yeah, this was a massively disappointing game from the defensive line up and down it because especially at the edge position where the injury to Ahmed Hassanin certainly opened up competition there to where it feels like there needs to be an edge 4 there. And joke about it all you want, but I feel like Zadarius Smith is the perfect like okay, we actually don't have to worry about this at all. Because you're right, I don't pass rush was not existent for most of the day, and this is on a day in which the Texans weren't playing any starters. They played third stringers pretty much all of the second half. I am a little bit surprised to look at the box score and see that Isaac Ukwu had 3 quarterback hits. I don't remember any of them, to be quite honest. But I don't think I don't think he was consistent enough for me to think that his pass rush was stellar on this day. So I don't know. Like there has to be an edge 4 on the roster, and maybe the edge 4 just comes from these interior guys that can play on the outside. They come from a guy like Pat O'Connor. Maybe it comes from Keith Cooper, who I still feel like he hasn't done a lot in the preseason. Am I crazy to think that? I don't know.
In the actual preseason games, like,
yeah.
No, I don't think you're crazy to. I don't think.
Like
I don't
he's
think so.
repping high in practice, but what has he put out there on tape that is like, oh, we better hide this guy?
It's a good question. Like, it's a good question. I saw Pat O'Connor repping outside today. He played a little bit of defensive end.
Yep.
That's why I think like all camp long, like he's been a guy who I think is pretty firmly in more so than he is out. I was a little bit interested to hear, and it was something I read from Justin Rogers where he was under the impression that like Mekhi Wingo's spot wasn't entirely safe. Did you get a chance to talk to Justin at all about that, Jeremy?
I didn't, but here's the thing with him. There's 2 things. One is I don't think you activate him from PUP unless he's making your team. Right? It
Sure.
doesn't make sense because you're not going to get a full evaluation from him. And Dan Campbell answered a question about that, and it was a little bit like, yeah, man, it is tough. Like, we're not going to get him in any sort of team drills. We're only going to see an individual. It's hard to get an evaluation on that player. But as I pointed out in a couple of spaces, there was one part of his answer that I thought was the most telling and almost like a little slip that maybe he didn't want to say, which is that he said, but we're going to need him.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to need him, you are not going to put that guy on waivers, right? A 6th round pick who showed some flashes in his rookie season. I think he's a lock. And
a positional versatile guy too, right? Like
yes.
a guy who has
Yes.
kicked outside and played. Yeah.
Yes. And so I think he makes the roster. It could come at the expense of Cooper. It could be a situation where there's just not enough good edge players where you'll double up on a player like that. And it almost feels like tripling up because Pat O'Connor is also one of those versatile pieces. But it's kind of like the secondary where there's so many moving parts that while it looks like maybe they're thin on the edge or it might look like they're thin at three tech, a lot of these guys can play some of those multiple positions. Although, and we've thrown this out in a couple places, like there are some guys that we don't talk a ton about that either have put out really good preseason tape or Dan has talked about a couple times. One of those guys is a guy that's not even on our bubble watch that I like. If you're looking for that one that's like, that guy made the team, Miles Adams, he continues to hype up Miles Adams in a way that you're just like, am I missing something? What am I missing in that guy? And then I've been a really big fan of how Chris Smith has played this preseason. They don't need a third nose tackle. And I know he can play a little bit of three tech, but he's mostly a nose and they don't need it. But he's played really well. And I'm just like, could he just be one of those weird guys that makes it and you're like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Just
Yeah,
because
Miles
they
Adams
value
is,
run defense.
Yeah.
yeah. Miles Adams is someone who has definitely stood out to me, especially in today's game when we're talking about like the defensive line not looking great. At least Miles Adams to me, like Flash, I've just every time I felt like I looked at the screen, like 66 was at least like trying to make a push. And so it's like it makes you wonder where a guy like that, may fit in this final 53. I think it kind of goes without saying. We've kind of talked about it before. Broderick Martin, probably this was his last go around in Detroit, so probably in the same boat as a Hendon Hooker, where Ryan probably changes scenery. Hopefully, can do him some good for the long term of his career. But I think the rest of that defensive line, like I'm really high on Nate Lynn. I I'm curious to see what the Lions will do with Ahmed Hassanin and like whether or not like he's a guy that's, we talked about it a little bit during the break, if he's an IR guy, or anything like that. But I think the rest of that defensive line is fairly set for the most part.
Yeah, I mean the top guys are set, right? Like Al-Qadim Muhammad making the team, Pat O'Connor making the team. Those are your primary reserves in addition to guys like Roy Lopez who's making the team. So they're not in a bad situation there, and once Mackay is up to speed, that'll be a big boost. Aleem when he's healthy, Pascal, like the defensive line might not look at its best, as particularly when you have a guy like Nate Lynn, some UDFAs make the team, but you're hoping those guys are mostly special teamers early in their career here, not part of like the major rotation, and then you can carry the primary reserves until your big guns come in.
Yeah. Ryan, if we were to move over to the linebacker group, I feel like that's a group similar to like almost like the running back group and the wide receiver group at the top, where it's like you feel really good about your first like 3 or 4 guys in terms of Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, and Grant Stewart. I feel like Zach Cunningham has done enough to play himself onto the roster. I think Trevor Nowatzki has a very niche role on this roster to where he's another guy that you could kind of feel like, all right, that's kind of your linebacker group. But then I also remember, we talked about it a little bit during the break, but like Malcolm Rodriguez has to come back at some point, and it kind of makes you wonder, like in that situation, do the Lions just carry, what is that, 8 linebackers, or is somebody like on the way out?
That'd be 7, I think, because we're
Okay.
the top 6 are essentially set, but yeah, he would make 7. They carried 7 on their initial 53 last year. And we called them crazy. And then they went through all 7 of them.
Right. And then they went through more guys who weren't on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about a guy who I thought had a really good game today was Trevor Nowatzki.
Yeah.
And one of the more interesting things was he wore the green dot. He played some off-ball linebacker.
Played some Mike.
So that's a way that you kind of diversify your ability on this team and show some of that positional versatility. Like Miko said, when you are kind of fit into this little niche role of like you're the backup Sam linebacker, and it's like, okay, well, like they have Derek Barnes, and if Derek Barnes, isn't on the field for Sam linebacker, they might be trying to find a way to get him on the field regardless, where it's like, how important is the Sam linebacker role? They're clearly trying to get him to do other things and get him comfortable in other spots. So he has some of that ability to slide in and play on defense. I feel really good about the Lions linebacker position. And it only stands, I think, to get better, right? Like Jack Campbell, I think we're all expecting really big things for him now in year 3. and then you have a healthy Derek Barnes, you have Alex Anzalone, and then I think the big takeaway from training camp in this preseason is they have defensive depth at linebacker. Like I wouldn't feel bad about Zach Cunningham having to play in a pinch. I wouldn't feel bad about having Grant Stewart have to fill in and play for a game or two. Like I wouldn't feel all that bad about the drop off in talent when it comes to that, in comparison to last year where it's
Right.
like Anthony Pittman's coming in from Jacksonville and it's like, okay, I remember when Anthony Pittman had a few good reps on defense. Like,
Right.
yeah, like we're going to be fine. It feels like this position is just better top to bottom than maybe it's ever been
Yeah.
during Brad and Dan's time here.
Let
I
me
feel like
read
you're
what
also playing it. I was gonna say, I also feel like Ryan's playing it safe right now by saying like he would be okay with Grant Stewart, playing a couple snaps when he actually openly campaigned to have Grant Stewart play a couple snaps with the starters. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I think Grant Stewart is great depth.
and the starting kick returner.
I mean, he had an awesome kick return today. So
I mean, it was
every
he didn't
every
get touched. He just ran straight. But I mean, he has the explosive athleticism to hit the hole when it was there. I'm not trying to minimize it.
Do you guys hate Grant Stewart? I'm just wondering. Like,
No,
are you
no,
guys
no.
just like crotchety idiots or what?
Whoa.
Whoa.
No, let me go back to Nowaski for a second because you're right to point out that he's played Mike in this game and he's been doing a little bit more and more of that in training camp as well. Here's what Dan had to say about him. Now is his nickname, just so we're clear on the sentence and it's not confusing. He says, "Now played at a high level today. You could see the physical, but I thought, man, he was in it mentally. Like he was pretty locked in. I thought which look, some of this is raw for him playing stack linebacker and he was running Mike, middle linebacker, making calls. And I just thought he had a pretty cerebral game too, which is good to see, which means he's growing and developing. And then on top of that, dude is a 4-core special teamer. And again, like we can't overlook that part of their game when you are linebacker 5 and 6 on the team. Nowaski is as much of a lock as I think you can get for a linebacker 6 on the team. To me, the question is, do they run it back with 7? And the only reason I'm considering this is, one, because I'm having trouble with those last couple of roster spots, whether it's OL 10, wide receiver 7, DB 9, 10, whatever. But also, like, Anthony Pittman's a good special teamer. He's struggled on defense pretty mightily this training camp, this preseason, but when you're talking about 51, 52, 53 on the roster, special teams matters, and he's a good special teamer.
I think that's where we are with like a lot of these positions though, right? Like once you start getting to like the back end of it, like whether it's some of the, whether it's some of the DBs, whether it's some of the wide receivers, some of the running backs, like they all have some level of special teams versatility. And it just now comes down to like who is more valuable. Do you need, if Grant Stewart's going to be playing special teams, if Zach Cunningham's going to be playing special teams, if Trevor Nowaski's going to be playing special teams, do you need a fourth linebacker,
That's a very good
linebacker
point. It's a very
also to
good
play
point.
special teams?
Yes. There are only so many linebacker roles on special teams. It's a very, very fair point. The point I was making when I was discussing this with some other people, though, is like a lot of times you're seeing guys like Derek Barnes on special teams or Jack Campbell on special teams. Don't you like in an ideal world, those guys aren't on special teams, right? Like you're giving those guys the opportunity to focus more on defense. And just lifting a little bit off their plate, but 3 linebackers might be enough to do that. 3 pure special teams linebackers might be enough to do that.
Zach Cunningham has played 92 special teams snaps since 2021. So like he's not really a special teams guy. Like when Zach Cunningham
He's
came
repping
in,
there though. He's
repping there, but that's how he's going to like keep a spot on this team is that he like can do both things, right? Like I think that when you look at Zach Cunningham, that's a guy that you look at and say that is good defensive depth. They would turn to somebody else to play special teams, I think, before they would Zach Cunningham if they could. Like when Malcolm Rodriguez gets healthy, right? Because that's the conversation we had in the break where it's like when Malcolm gets healthy, who's the linebacker that's the odd man out? Well, it's probably Zach Cunningham. Why is that? Because you have a guy who is a special teams ace and is like a plus defensive depth like reserve guy. So
So in your opinion, like if they were to keep seven, like to Jeremy's point, if they keep seven, you keep Anthony Pittman for Anthony Pittman to be the first man out for when Malcolm comes back, because then you're just swapping out special teams aces.
Yeah.
If you keep seven linebackers.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I'm
like
proud.
there's no even question if they keep seven linebackers too, because Ezekiel Turner is the other guy who's also a good special teamer, but unfortunately seems to have suffered a significant injury in the preseason finale.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm kind of proud of us. We've made it through most of these like off-season podcasts and haven't had to talk a ton of special teams because I'm pretty sure that group is set, right? Jack Fox is going to continue to punt. Jake Bates is going to continue to be hated by Jeremy, and can't even remember the name of our long snapper. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys.
Wow, Hogan Hatton, who made a great tackle today, by the way, and then flexed on him afterwards, which was awesome.
Well, I
Now
mean,
who
like,
Jake Bake, that's
special
all you got to
teams.
do. See Jake Bake, that's all you got to do. You got to go down and tackle a couple people, and then Jeremy will love you.
I'm just if Hendon Hooker was a better quarterback, I'd have more confidence in Jake Bates because he didn't have to do anything today. He barely kicked the ball off because we didn't score. He didn't kicked one extra point, didn't kick any field goals. Get some
So
reps
if
in, man.
got it. So as long as Jared Goff is like basically perfect this season, like we won't have to worry about any Jake Bates slander from you.
Maybe.
I mean, Hogan Hatton is the reason why I wasn't really even considering a linebacker 7. They have one on the roster.
Fullback Hogan Hatton.
Do it all, Hogan Hatton. I want, you know what? The first Madden sim, Jeremy, needs to be 11 Hogan Hattons versus 11 Grant Stewarts. Go to war.
I'm still waiting for 11 Panay Sewells. 11 Panay Sewells against like whoever.
That's just domination. That's not even a contest. That's 150-0.
11 Panay Sewells against 11 Lane Johnsons. Run it up. Settle this once and for all.
Just
Can you?
before we go live, just at Bleeding Green Nation, just to get them in the chat and just start an all-out war.
Can you guys tell it's the end of the preseason?
I'm excited. We got a couple weeks until week 1. Lions versus Packers. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll kind of get into our regular season flow of doing the POD cast, midweek mailbag, First Bite, which again, if you want to listen to First Bite, you'll have to check out POD Direct. $50 for the year. Well worth your money. You'll still get some bonus content. It won't be as, in depth as some of the training camp observations, but still, Ryan and Jeremy will be doing First Bite. There will be plenty of other articles by, a couple of special guest writers and things like that. It's always worth being able to get that additional insight into, Lions news and analysis and things like that. So, with all that said, guys, I'm Miko. He's Jeremy. He's Ryan. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Recording stopped.
We did it, guys. We made it through the preseason. It's officially over.
Barely.
Oh,
You almost
Petition to
died?
never play the Hall of Fame game ever again.
Oh, God. I will
seriously.
sign that immediately. At least make it another, what is this, like 25 years? No, it was longer than that. I think it was like 30 years since they did it last time.
Cool. Like, don't do it for another 30 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
We go to the bottom of that list with the Chargers.
Sorry. Thanks, Yar Piro. I'm going to say that's how you pronounce the name. Appreciate it. If you guys had to put a percentage on it, Zadarius Smith signs with the Lions. What is it right now?
Depends on if Jackson Meeks is on the 53-man roster. I'm gonna keep banging that drum.
First number that came to mind was 40%.
I think the over-under is like literally at 50% because I still feel like I'm right in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Lions will like those, like Nate Lynn will make the roster. They'll have Al-Qadin. They'll just wait out Pascal.
Yeah.
And I think what we kind of talked about with Makai, like they'll probably use Makai in a couple of different ways. But I think they're just gonna lean like pretty heavily on Hutch and Davenport.
They are.
That-
Hutch plays like 85% of the snaps. I don't know how much you want to play Davenport. I feel like you want to roster, you want to snap manage him a little bit.
That's the thing that's tough about that snap management, though. It's like, well, your depth is Al Qadim Muhammad and potentially Nate Lynn and Pat O'Connor. Like, do I want Pat O'Connor ever playing on third down? Probably not. So,
So do you
I,
play Al on like first and second, and then
Nate Lynn
or
on
first
third.
down, and then like Davenport on
I think
second
you,
and third?
Yeah,
I think you love having Davenport on the field third down.
third down.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think he's more of a first and second down guy.
No, I think he's
I think
best
he
suited on
is.
first and second down, but like with that depth, like I think I'd rather have Marcus Davenport on third down.
I don't know if Nate Lynn can defend the run though. I feel like he's a third down guy.
That's what I mean. But that
Yeah.
I guess that's to my point where it's
Yeah.
like I'd rather have Marcus Davenport on first and second down. You're probably
You're just
in
saying
some,
when would you get Muhammad out there?
yeah, in like do you want to always cook or always kick Aiden Hutchinson inside to play three tech? Like no, not all the time, but like
I
situationally I think it works.
I am. I think it's like this with me in my brain. Like Marcus Davenport is your first and second down guy as long as you can put him out there, maybe 60% of the time, and then you just take him out for some series and replace him with Al Qadim Muhammad on first and second down, and then Nate Lynn is your third down guy.
Or maybe Pat O'Connor. Like I'd be fine with Pat O'Connor playing the Marcus Davenport role here and there, like on
Yeah,
first
On
and
first
second
and
down.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like we're talking about Zadarius Smith. Like we're not talking about another guy they're gonna bring in to like play on first and second down a ton. Like
true.
That's why, like, yeah,
yeah.
but that's why, like, that's why my percentage for Zedarius is like sub 50%,
Yeah,
because I just think like they'll just, if the money's not lining up, like if the money hasn't been lining up to this point, like I don't think anything has drastically changed enough for the Lions to all of a sudden be like, all right, fine, we'll add
deadline
Clement.
spur action, Miko. Deadline is week 1. Suddenly the wallet gets a little bit more open.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'm not trying to also present it like Zadarius Smith is an absolute zero on first and second down. Like
Right.
No, I think that would be the benefit of having Zedarius, is that you could kind of do what Jeremy was saying, which is like rotate them by series, honestly.
Yeah. And
Sure.
they do that. Like that's normal.
like if you are getting like 60% Marcus Davenport on first and second down, like would I feel comfortable with like the rest of that 40% being split up by some mix of Al-Qadim Muhammad, Pat O'Connor, and Zadarius Smith? Like, yeah, I feel pretty darn good about that.
Yeah. And as our chat's pointing out, like sometimes they're going to go to those looks where Barnes is on the edge, right? And then you'll have Pat O'Connor next to him or outside of him in some cases. So
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I really want Josh Pascal to come back because he's like the exact guy they need.
yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Like a guy they really trust on first and second down. As a pass rusher, they like him inside. And we've talked about it. Like until they get Aleem McNeil back, who's really a pass rushing threat at the three tech? I don't really know if they have one right now.
Yeah, it's Wingo.
And
Yeah.
When does
Wingo's
he-
done individual
Yeah.
drills. He hasn't done any team stuff.
Right.
So like the only pass rushing guy that you feel great about is Aiden Hutchinson when he's playing
Yeah.
three tech in pass rushing situations. So
It's Tyleek, but in 2026.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like
It's Aleem in like week 9 or 10.
Right.
I just like
But good luck
As
running
ex-
the ball.
yeah, as excited as I am for the beginning of the season, like I want to know what this team looks like come playoff time. And I know it's like putting like the cart before the horse, and
Ryan's already simming to postseason.
I kind of am like I just want to know what that because I really do think like if everything hits in their defense,
Yeah, can be special.
it could be the best defense in the NFL.
Do you guys think the offense will have a similar start to the season that they did last year,
It's
where they
possible.
were like, where it like took them like the first 3 weeks of the season to kind of like get going. Because like that's my fear.
Yeah.
Like I feel way more confident that the defense will hit the ground running, and I genuinely don't know why.
I
But
think
like the offense is the one is that I'm like that might take a little bit.
I think the offensive line showed to me in training camp that there's still a little bit to go in terms of just developing chemistry on the offensive line. And I know people aren't going to want to hear that, and it's probably confirming some of their biggest fears, but it's also completely understandable, right? Like these guys have only been working together for 5 weeks,
Yeah.
and it's two guys who have 2 or fewer starts in the NFL. It's a downgrade at center. As much as I love Graham, he's not Frank, and so like yeah, it's not going to be what it was at the end of last season, and it'll probably take a while to get anywhere close. I don't think it's going to be like a true huge weakness per se, but it's not going to be up to, I think, Lions' standard of offensive line play right away.
Yeah.
And that has a chance to like crumble everything a little bit, right? Like
Well,
if
and that's
Jared
I
Goff
think
has
that's
to
why.
run for his life, that's not good. If the run game isn't working, that's not good.
I mean, you you get a somewhat favorable opponent week 1 because like what does Green Bay's secondary look like now that like I haven't been paying enough attention outside of Xavier McKinney though, but like
Yeah, their corners are.
passing the ball should be you should be able to find some success there. So hopefully you can hit the ground running. But like that's the one that
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like shaky on.
Yeah, I think it's a little understandable, but it's not how you play in September, right? Even if they drop Green Bay, I don't think they're going to drop the Bears game. But it's a tough one out of the gate outside of those games, right? It's who's it in week 3? It's someone good, right?
Isn't it
It's
Baltimore?
Ravens, yeah, Ravens, and then Browns, then Bengals, then Chiefs, and then Bucks. So like 5 out of those first 7 or first 6, no 7, are tough, and the other ones are the Browns and the Bears. So like I don't know if you can get out of that 3 and 4. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think you'd obviously prefer 4 or 3 or better, but
Yeah.
I do wonder if like the message has changed a little bit in the locker room to really value finishing. Like it's not where you start, it's more where you finish, and like pacing yourself a little bit. I'm not saying that the Lions like went too hard too early, and obviously they were still playing good football pretty late into the season, even with all the injuries. But I do wonder if it's like because like it feels like the Chiefs always do that, right? Slow start, they don't look like themselves, and then December hits and everything starts clicking.
Yeah. I think the thing that's different for the Chiefs for me though is like that's a team that's just getting old. Like and it's not and I don't even necessarily mean like player wise. Like I don't know, just like something about that feels like they're aging and it's not as fluid as it used to be. Like they're getting younger pieces at the receiver, but yet it still looks really clunky.
Yep.
And so, but like, yeah, like they have like the right mentality to where like it doesn't seem like that team falls apart, right? And so like, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Lions have that type of mentality where it's like, hey, if it does start out kind of slow, kind of like if you're what 3 and 4 going into the bye or something like that, like is this team able to like still be like, no, like everything's still right in front of us?
Yeah, I would think so, right? Like,
We say that, but the Chiefs started the season 9-0 last year.
right,
Like,
right.
Yeah.
But we can all agree that they didn't look like a 9-0 team, right?
100%. Like everything was a razor's edge. Like week 1 was Isaiah Likely's big toe was out of bounds. Week 2 was the pass interference that put them into field goal range, and they kicked the field goal against the Bengals.
There's a blocked field goal somewhere in there.
They beat the Falcons 22-17. They beat the Chargers 17-10. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there were a bunch of games that were so close. I think that was the Tampa Bay game, or no, the Denver game was the blocked field goal. I think 16-14. Like there's so many one score games over
Yeah.
that 9 game stretch where there were a lot of Lions games last year where the score ended up close, but like the games never felt like they were
Right. There,
Right.
in doubt, right?
there's
Where
only
it was
like
like
3 where it was like the Lions got a little lucky there, right? It's the Bears Thanksgiving game, obviously the Texans game.
Texans game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of that, feels like the kind of not comfortably won. Like obviously the Green Bay game after Thanksgiving was a tight game that they pulled out.
That was
but
yeah.
But like credit to them, right? They made enough plays at the end of the game and they put it away instead of giving the Packers a chance. So it's like, yeah, that's a 1-score win, and but it wasn't like they blocked a field goal at the end of regulation.
Right.
No. And I guess like because like the game that I was initially thinking of when I asked that question was like the Bucks game last year, right? Where like
Yeah.
to Ryan's point, where like you watch that game and it's like, no, like the Lions should be winning by a lot, but they're just not converting in the red zone.
Right.
And then they lose that game, but like you didn't walk away like, oh, this team is doomed. It's just like you had a great level of perspective of like they just need to convert better in the red zone because they were able to move the ball wherever they wanted to. Aiden was having a ridiculous game that game.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like I could see the season starting out similar where it's like if there's a game like that where maybe there's just a couple drop passes or a couple passes sail that should be touchdowns, and we're like looking at a couple losses like, man, at the beginning of the season I would have thought those would be wins.
Yeah.
Like,
the only difference now though is like when they get in the red zone, they're not going to have an offensive coordinator who's way too cutesy.
Yeah. that and 2 running back sets in the red zone. Good luck trying to
Like I was gonna say about the Lion. Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was going to say something I probably shouldn't say anyways.
Okay. The Lions schedule up to the Colts game last year, because that was the game before Thanksgiving. I'm counting like 6 games, maybe 7, where it was like the Lions were in complete control almost all game long. Like the Cardinals game was 20-13. That game never felt like the Lions were out of control in that game. Like
No matter what Roy Lopez says, by the way.
oh, did he say some things?
Yeah, he was talking about that game. He was talking about like how you could sense that the Lions had prepared and were just had a little bit of more energy late in the fourth quarter. But he also mentioned like that was a 1-score game, and I think it was a lot closer than some of the guys in this building thought it was. It did, like the Lions had the ball with like 4 minutes left, and they did have to convert like a 3rd and 13 at some point, and they did, and that just they were able to run out the rest of the clock. But
Did the Cardinals ever have the lead in that game?
no, I don't think so. But
No.
I mean, the argument being that like if we get a stop there, we get a chance to tie the game, which is technically true. But what was the final score? 17-10,
20-13.
20-13. So
They were up 20-7
yeah,
at Matt Prater kicked a 42-yard field goal at the end of the Is that the end of the second quarter?
did the Lions not score in the second half?
I think if I'm reading this right, like Matt Prater kicked a field goal at the end of the half, and there wasn't any scoring until the fourth quarter when Matt Prater kicked a field goal with 3 minutes and 52 seconds.
Sounds like a close game to me, Ryan.
Sounds like Roy Lopez is onto something.
The Lions were scoreless in the second half of that game. Confirmed. Ben Johnson too cutesy.
I mean,
The Lions failed to convert a 4th and 1 on Arizona's 34-yard line in that game. So, why don't you trust Jake Bates with the 52-yarder there?
all right. I think this conversation's run its course.
I think so too, especially with Mr. Kev throwing a bunch of fake breaking news in the chat. Let's see, what do we got going on this week?
You want to do something after cuts?
Probably, because midweek mailbag's going to be a POD direct exclusive this week. So, maybe we usually get Brad on Thursday. This upcoming week, you want to maybe do one after Brad on Thursday? Either a Thursday or Friday cuts
I could do
reaction?
Friday.
What time on Friday?
Although,
we can
like,
discuss this
we
later, I guess.
we should also have like a season preview podcast. So maybe like it's just like a super quick cuts reactions emergency pod that we can record either quickly on Thursday or Friday, and then like a one on Sunday or Monday. That's like a season preview.
To get into the swing
cool
of
with that.
things. Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. Well, you guys can expect that, and then I don't know, at some point I'm gonna buy Madden and we'll get that started up again.
11 Grant Stewards versus 11 Hogan Hattons.
I'm
Winner
not-
plays 11 Penny Sewells.
See, if someone can like put together an online roster all I have to do is download that, great. If I have to somehow create 11
Oh.
of those guys, I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry, I don't
Well,
have enough
technically,
time
you
on
could
my
create
hands.
You got to create 53 of them because,
Substitutions.
injuries. Yeah, injuries and stuff.
Here comes Penny Sewell for Penny Sewell.
Miko, it's about the 69 roster, not the 53 man roster.
Tell that to Madden. Don't tell that to me.
Okay.
I forgot Yarp Row. Thank you for the first time subscription 17 minutes ago. I hope you're still here because I appreciate it. But other than that, I think we're caught up. We can go.
Sweet.
Any last words?
Go to Culver's, guys. Get a dessert or something.
Get some onion rings, apparently.
And check your bag before you leave the drive-thru.
Definitely do that, especially if you're married. If you want to actually have a peaceful night.
All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you sometime next week.